All right. Thanks for the introduction. And we have 15 minutes. And like Topher said, everything is about speed. And thanks for the presenter before. He set the stage. So what we are going to do is I will introduce you the Headless Accelerator if you haven't known it already. I will quickly go through this. What are we actually trying to achieve? And the whole goal of the Headless Accelerator is basically for front-end developers to getting up to speed with a new project without investing too much time in learning actually Magnolia. So it's not that we want to make it obsolete, but we want to make it very easy to onboard new members who know Next.js, Next, Angular, and whatever technology you're using without spending too much time to know Magnolia internals. So how are we going to do that? The Headless Accelerator, in a nutshell, is actually a CLI tool. It helps you to automate certain tasks as a front-end developer to get Magnolia running, to jumpstart a new project. We will do that later. And to get all the wiring, everything that we have seen in the session before, to make that very smooth. So that when you want to start a new project, you don't have to go through all the configs and you don't have to remember everything what you usually have to know, which is usually the learning curve at the beginning when connecting to any headless CMS. And we fixed that. And without going into much details, we will jumpstart and a new project. When we talk about jumpstart, the Headless Accelerator is a CLI tool you can install with npm. Assuming that we're all Node.js developers, or we know that at least a little bit. It's a command line tool which will give you certain templates which we will provide or are already providing. And then you can actually choose a template. Say you want to have a Next.js, Angular or Vue project, and it will bootstrap this for you. We will not only do the Next.js project, we will also bootstrap a local Magnolia instance. And later on, which is not released yet, you can also jumpstart new SaaS or PaaS projects, and everything is wired together. And that's a good beginning for you to start. Additionally on that, we give you helpers to create new components and pages and page templates and everything quite easily. If you're interested in the React Salesforce, it's also a very nice template because for e-commerce, because you have to wire different systems together. There is a speech at 5:30 from Martina. She will go into details, which is using the HA Accelerator to start a complete e-commerce project with the Headless CMS from scratch, just like that. And with that, I would just jump into the code directly. And I will do live coding, so everything can happen. Please excuse already if I mistype anything, and please watch if I do any typos. I tend to do that. What you can see is my VS Code editor with the embedded terminal. I always use that also for the development because I don't like to switch between terminals and so on. And on the left side, you can see an empty folder. The CLI name is HA. I installed that already globally. And then there's a command called, as you can see, jumpstart. So we are going to do that. Is it possible to zoom in? Yes. Better? Thank you. Let's do this. No, we need that. All right. I still have some minutes left. So it's basically you need a DX core license. So you have your contacts already to get you know that from the Nexus credentials to access Magnolia. So that's the only thing we need to have access to all the Jumpstart templates. And I hope I added the proper passwords. Obviously, I did. So this is basically the structure I showed you. And we are continuously adding more and more features to these templates. So I chose React, and I will use Next.js. And now if you carefully look at the left side, once I'm pressing enter, it's asking me for a name for the project. I call it Dev Days. Now watch the left side. Bam, the complete Next.js project is set up. with my project dev days. That's the one I just used. And it's now installing, it's basically doing npm or yarn install. It's downloading Magnolia version for my local development in this case. And I have some example contents, and the configuration is actually done. So if we look at the next config, and I already started it, so in case there are any network issues, we have a command h8dev. h8dev is calling the dev console. That's the green thing which you can see there. And this is doing actually everything you need. It's starting up Magnolia, it's starting up Next.js, it has a watcher, and now you get your project. And if you want to just quickly switch over to Magnolia, which is running locally. And once I log in with a secure password, you see that? It already created a dev days direct page for us. And if I double click on that, I get a complete Next.js rendered page out there. Before I go into the structure, because of the limited time, let's create quickly a new component, because I'm now just a Next.js developer. I don't know much about Magnolia. And as I can see in this console, I can press C. So if I press C, I can generate code. And now I want to create a test component. So the Headless Accelerator knows that this is a React Next.js project. We have different templates. So if you do Vue with Next, soon Next 3, or Angular, it will know that and create accordingly to this framework the component and the structure for you. Once I hit create, it's creating a component for me in the background. And as you can see, my components, and this is the standard Next.js structure, so there's nothing Magnolia around it. I can see my new, if I could, yeah, there it is, my new test component. And if I look at my structure, it's quite just a standard React component with a title in there. So what is different to this regular light module development? The CLI is actually a code generator, and that means it's also generating a light module for you. To make it easier as a front-end developer, you have the YAML file with the definition next to your React or Angular or Vue component, which makes it easier to understand what can I use in my component. So let's say I want to add a new one, and I have to admit I do copy-paste there a lot with all these things. I want to create a title and a subtitle in my component. I'm adding a new field, and I call it sun title because it was so sunny. Now, subtitle, I save it, and as you can see, there's a watcher in the background, and it did something. So what was the something? I'm still going to my React component, and we do some more things. As you can see, we tend to use TypeScript, because we also like type safety. Once you have a team which is bigger, you always have with headless system the problem, where's the source of truth, right? Is it on the headless system, you need to know the API. So what I quickly can do is I'm creating the dialog, and as you can see in the code completion, it automatically detected that I changed my dialog YAML, and I can use a subtitle here. If I just want to add something which is not there, it will fail here. Plus, my TypeScript project will not build. That's why we also changed the workflow to build it in your CI environment. So now I added subtitle there. And as you can see, a lot of things are happening. Now, this is Magnolia. You will not see it anywhere there. Well, how cool would it be as a front-end developer if I could actually test it now with the right dialog model without opening up Magnolia? And we can actually do this. We have a connection, we have a storybook pre-configured, and there's my test component, and I can add my title and my subtitle in here without actually touching Magnolia at this point. Now, at the same time, we want to add this component, and that's the drill, you know, what you have seen before, into our pages area, right? So that I can actually edit it. And this is happening. That's a new enhancement to the standard setup of Next.js, but you can change that actually the way you want. This is just like an example. And I can go to my standard page. There you can see that I have my areas. And I will copy paste that and will try to add additionally to the column layout my test component. And now I will point actually to my YAML file. So if I don't have any typos, switch back to Magnolia and reload that, we should be able to see in the standard page our component, and there it is. And as you can see, it's basically the same thing what I have seen in Storybook. I saved the whole thing, and it's added at the end, our title, subtitle. And now, once I change something, let's go back. No, sorry. So now that was one way to create it. But as I said, it's a CLI tool, and it has many options. So I will create a new component, not with the dialog, but directly in the command line. I'm using an option link. So I will create a new component, and sorry, I'm not very creative with component names, so I will just call it title. So I want to have a new title component. Now, what happens now? The CLI knows all templates, all areas, and I can simply choose, that I want to have it everywhere available. Press return, and first I can check it's there in Storybook again. If I quickly reload it, if I do, sorry for that. There it was, sorry. So once I reload my page, it will be visible at the very end. So I can add a component, and now the title component is in here. And the only thing I learned before doing that was using the CLI. So I don't need to know anything else. It can also handle more complex, like images. Once you create an image, it's very complex because we have the renditions. So if I add to my title component, and I open the YAML file, an image. So we have 1 minute left. So I will quickly add an image so that you know that, and we'll just copy it. I will just write it. So 1 minute, and I will call it image, and now Topher, you know that better. It's a damn link field. So I saved it, and now that's the whole TypeScript experience. If I open my title component, it gives me the whole image structure Magnolia has. And that's it. So basically the time is already over. It was like a very quick introduction. We have the page ha.magnoliacms.com, which gives you the whole infos. And so I hope you got something out of this quick session. And if you're local, there's a deep dive tomorrow morning. Thank you.